elected officials, dignitaries, candidates, and whatnot, and then the rest of us. No, first of all, we have Greg Winters in the back. He's the Bibb County DA, and he's also we have Bibb County Board of Education elect member Jason Downey. We don't know how to run a campaign without opposition as Jason.
Luck.
And then when I just introduce the candidates, if they have anything to add or tell us, I know there's lots of things happening in campaigns right now, so please feel free to share a real quick word about what's going on. With the John House campaign, he's running for the 2nd District Congressional seat. We have John Corson. He's the official person, so do you have anything to say or add? Or?
Well, just we're working hard. We're also working for 3 or 4 or ever how many other candidates, because we are supporting every candidate who is running on those little yellow cards up there.
Right. Yes, he mentioned the little yellow cards. We have 10,000 cards printed up, and it has our slate. I should have had this up here. It has our slate on it. Please, I'm gonna make sure everybody can take some of these. I'm gonna follow you out in the parking lot if you don't take some. But please send these out to your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers. It's something that you can fold up and take to the polls with you. That way they can just take it out. Okay, who do I vote for? It's got everybody on there. So
something more about John House. He came to my church, First Baptist Church, on Sunday and attended that with me. I'm so happy for him and Marilyn to be there. He said that he's been in 3 forums now with Sanford Bishop, one in Columbus, and he's hoping WMAC has contacted him and is probably going to have a forum for him in Sanford here.
very good. I'm very proud. I've talked to many of our candidates that are running and running campaigns, and I'm so proud of the work that they're all doing. I mean, they've been working hard. I know some of them have their tongue hanging out, but just hang in there. It's almost over. It's something, you're on the last leg of the marathon. We also have with us Tom Wagner. He is running for county commission chair. Do you have anything to add?
I'm worn out. Joanne's killing me. Suzanne.
But anyway, he's going to have an office opening pretty soon. What is your grand opening for your office?
We're hoping one day next week. It'll be down on Mulberry Street, right downtown. You can't go down. It's in between Zines and between the bread. We'll have another one at the J.D. Kinder Shopping Center.
Okay. All right. We'll announce that. We'll make sure everybody knows when the actual date is. Linda Tillman is running for Bibb County Clerk of Court. Do you have anything you want to add or say?
Well,
you're tired too?
I'm tired too. Everything's going really well. I seem to be making inroads and getting a lot of support from Democrats as well. And I think it's going, got a lot of things scheduled. October's going to be crazy. But it's good, but just keep us in prayers. We need
Fundraiser next week.
Yes, fundraiser October 4th, James Bates, Brandon, and Gruber.
Very good.
Thank you.
Next we have Robert Abbott. He's running. I always like to say this. He's running against Joe Allen for county commission. So, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. On the 9th, we're having a meet and greet forum out at Lake Wildwood at the clubhouse. On Thursday of that week, we're having a meet and greet or a reception, whatever you want to call it, at the Eagle Gun Club over off of Mercer University at 5:30 to 7:30. And if you're interested, come by. We're glad to have you. And anybody wants to volunteer to assist on walking, doing some street walking, let me know. I'd be glad to could use you. I've got plenty of steps left, and I've got plenty of houses to knock on.
And we have Lester Miller, who is a candidate for Bibb County School Board. Do you have anything to add, say, or deny? No, I'm just kidding.
He just wants to play conquest.
All I can say is David Lucas and Lane Lucas and Tom Hudson started campaigning against me this week. So
Wow. All right. I mean,
1, 2, 3. Thanks, Lester.
things looking good.
October the 6th is going to be a very, very busy day for Republicans. We have several things going on. The first thing we have, everybody should have gotten a little card on their seat. It's a Restore America rally to Lake McRomney. Bibb County, House and County, Peach County have gone in together to do this. It's going to be at Jailhouse Park, and I told them, people from Bibb County, they're not sure where that is. So it's all. You take 75 north, 75 south, exit 129. There'll be signs from there showing you there. It's free if you volunteer. Is it 149? Okay, 149. You sure? Okay, 149. We don't take 129. 149. It's that Centerville exit.
It's the Byron exit.
Yeah, Byron exit. So, okay.
You're 20 miles too far south.
You know there's a reason,
Anyway.
right?
What he said. But anyway, we do need volunteers for that. There's a sign-up sheet on the desk, and if you come and volunteer, you get a free Romney sign. So that might be a hot commodity, I don't know. So we do need some volunteers for that. Also, on October 6th, actually the weekend of October 6th, Americans for Prosperity is doing a 48-hour Get Out the Vote campaign in Florida. And they are asking people from all over the state to volunteer. I'm going. They will pick you up from Macon, take you to Florida, and on the way down, you'll be making phone calls out of a special computerized system they have. All day Saturday, you'll be walking neighborhoods and teams, and all day Sunday, you'll be making phone calls. It's a very intense 48 hours, but they're going to Tampa, Orlando, or Jacksonville. They're paying for everything. So all you have to do is, all they need is your body. So if you're interested in doing that, please see me after the meeting, and I'll hook you up. Another thing we're going to have our first neighborhood walk on October the 6th as well. We're going to meet here at the office at 9 o'clock, and I'm not sure what direction we're going to go in yet, but we're going to have some very specific target houses to go to. They're not going to be, you're not going to be knocking on just anybody's door. They're not going to throw things at you. They're going to be receptive to what you have to say, and we're actually going to give a push up there. There's also a sign-up sheet if you want to walk neighborhoods. And if you don't, if you can't walk miles and miles and miles, we'll figure out something. We'll figure out a way to do it. We just need people to come and show support. October the 9th, I think Robert mentioned it, is a town hall meeting at Lake Wildwood. It's open to the public. The only other thing I have is we still need members to join. It's $25 for the year. If you want to make a contribution, it kind of helps us keep our lights on. We have to have a TV in here for people now. See our great TV. It's $25 for the year to see me afterwards. And our next meeting, we're going to move our meeting up in October a week because the last weekend in October, we're going to do actually a neighborhood walk that last Thursday. So it's going to be October the 18th. Set your calendars. We're going to have speakers. We're going to be Burt Jones, who's running for Senate District 25, and we're going to have Tom Wagner, who's going to come and speak to us about how we can take back this county. Dave, come in. I'm so excited about our speakers tonight. Many of you view education as something that we've got to get right, and it's not right, especially in this county. And we all can join the same fight. We don't need to be here and here and people here. We all need to come together and join in that fight. And one of the things that we've talked about many, many times, nationally, locally, on a state level, or charter schools. Some people are kind of confused about what they are, what they do, and that kind of thing. So we actually also, I meant to mention, Doug in the back is making a video of this wonderful people who are coming to speak, and he asked me to ask you not to get up, and so if you need to do something, do it now. While I'm doing the intro, our first speaker is Manya Rutland. She is the chair of the founding board of Macon Academy of Excellence. And you might ask yourself, well, wow, is that still around? No, it's not. And she's going to talk very honestly about how she got involved in that effort and what happened with that effort. She also is the parent liaison to the State School Superintendent Parent Advisory Board. She's very involved in the grassroots effort to bring charter schools to Bibb County or surrounding areas. And so I want her to come and speak as someone who's volunteered and is in the fight to get charter schools up and running, and let her talk to you about what she knows. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Thank you for that introduction. I am a Manya Rutland. I'm a wife to one and a mother to three. And I became involved in the charter school movement mainly through my children. At the time, they were in private school. And although they were in private school, I still wanted a good educational environment overall, because I see education really as a civil right. If we don't do more to bring it back to parents, bring it back, they talk about local control. Well, I think the best local control is parental control. So if we don't bring it back to that level, I mean, our education system, if you think it can't get worse, I believe it really can get worse. And so what moved me to become involved is because I saw this as a better opportunity for our children. Because although I hear all the time, well, Miss Rutland, your kids will be okay, you're involved, etc. Well, you know, my kids, they don't want to play with each other. They barely want to live in the house with each other. But when they step outside of my purview, I want the comfort of knowing that they're with children who can read and write, who are civilized, you know, all of those kinds of things. That's really important to me. And so because of that, I just gained momentum and really got involved. And my first involvement in the charter school movement was as the chair of the board, chair of the founding board for the Macon Academy of Excellence. Some of you may remember that. That was the charter school movement. It started with Progressive. At Progressive, we were going to locate there and start the school, but financially it wasn't feasible to get that building. It needed a lot of work, and so we needed to find another building. But through that process, you did say you were recording this, so I'll have to be careful how honest I am. All right. I warned Ms. Wood, you know, my political correctness, I don't have any. So, okay, let me rewind. But it wasn't financially feasible to have it at that location. So it was at that point that I really learned about being careful of everyone who said it's about the children, because it's really about the adults behaving like children, and you have to work with them to put them back on the focus that it's about the children. And I was very wedded to that and very passionate about that. And although at times I wasn't on the right side of the issue, I was just convinced that if we kept the focus on the kids and kept fighting and helping people understand it was about the kids, that we would be successful. And we were. Our local board approved the petition. The local board, the one that everyone talks about and makes fun of, that board approved the petition. Was it easy? No, it was not. Because many times, although it's a public school, people view charter schools as taking money away from the local schools. And my counter to that is, if taking money, if what we have is because of all the money we're getting, we need to take some away, you know. Now, it's a public school, so really we aren't taking from, but we're sharing. You know, we're sharing the funds that are available. But when you look at the results, when you have parents who are more involved, and I know you all know this firsthand, when you have parents who are involved with their children's education, you get a better product. And charter schools, they force that. They make parents, if you're going to bring them here, there's a parental component that they have to be involved with. So it does, it provides opportunities for all of those things that we say we want to see in our schools, and we get the results that we so desperately need. But we got local control. Although we were challenged on the fact about bus transportation. With this school, we were going to locate the school out on Bloomfield, yes, and I'm sorry, on Rocky Creek Road, at the old Gilead Baptist Church. We had a great partnership with Central Georgia Tech. They were going to locate their gym there, which they're currently there now, and provide all kinds of resources and partnerships with us. But we were not going to provide bus transportation, because I'm also the kind of parent and person that believes if you want something bad enough, you will find a way to do it, you'll find a way to get there. And members of the board took us to task on that. They said, wait a minute, you know, currently we're providing bus transportation for our children. You all need to provide bus transportation. I had one board member in particular challenge me and said, you know, we have our children in Alphabet City, how are they gonna get to your facility? I said, well, if those children in Alphabet City can get to the mall during Christmas time, you know, they can get to the school. I get frustrated when we underestimate the power of our impoverished parents. You know, many times, and I tease my my children's teachers, I said, you know, you all do everything for these kids except take them home, feed them, and give them a bath. At some point, you have to allow parents to be parents. And I'm not diminishing or being ugly, I'm just speaking forthrightly because I am a parent. And so you have to do that. And that's what we wanted this school to do, to allow parents to be parents. So although we did not offer, on the first round of our petition, we didn't offer bus transportation. We made the point that we wanted parents to be involved. And if they wanted to get their children to school, they would do it. And that proved itself time and time again. If parents want something for the kids, you're going to figure out a way to do it. We were going to have a foreign language component, which is Spanish. It's going to be the foreign language component. And we were going to extend the school day. Now, this year within the Bibb schools, if you notice, they've adopted the longer school day and the foreign language component. But nevertheless, that's what this school, what it was about. That's what we were going to do. We got local approval. We went to the state. We got state approval. From that point, what needed to happen was we needed to execute our plan, which included bringing on a new board. And that is where things started to unravel. Because with the new board in place, there were new ideas, new perspectives, new adult issues, and the adult issues just outgrew the mission of the board. So we pulled the petition back, and we said we would wait for the right time to present it again, which will be within another year or two. Now, if we wanted to proceed and just have a charter school for the sake of having a charter school, that opportunity was there. But as I said, our focus and mission was about the kids. And it really needs to remain about the kids. Bibb schools need a lot of work. But what doesn't help is when we pit public against private, when we pit black against white, because at the end of the day, I'm telling you, whether your kid's black, white, what have you, they're still, the conditions of the school is still the same. And so I am looking to this charter amendment for some relief. It's not the perfect amendment, but it is an amendment that, one, by establishing the commission, it adds another layer of approval to the process, which is needed sometimes. Because with charter schools, a lot of times people, when you talk about charter schools, everybody goes to the money. We can't afford it. Well, really, you can't afford not to. But if your local board, for whatever reason, doesn't approve it, it does help to have another process, another set of ears, another mind, to be able to review the petition and say, hey, let's give it a chance. Now, there's the argument now that that process is already in place, that if the local board doesn't approve it, you can take it to the state. And while that is true, if the state approves it, you get only about 40 to 50% of the funding, which averages about between $4,000 and $4,500 per student, versus about $7,000 to $8,000, depending on your district, but these are roughly Bibb numbers. That's available for children. So yes, there's an appeal process, but even if it's approved, you don't get all of the funds that are available. With the charter amendment through the establishment of the commission, then if for whatever reason the local board did not approve it and it went up to the commission, if the school was approved, then they would get the full funding. The money truly would follow the child, in essence. And speaking of that, you know, with the money following the child, they say, well, charter schools take money away from the district. But if you have a child in Bibb and that child moves to Houston County, you know, Bibb loses the money for that child, you know. So Houston gains, but Bibb loses. So that's already in place. Another argument that's made with the commission is the cost. You know, you got another layer of bureaucracy. Well, welcome. You know, what's new? But with that layer, look at the benefit that's gained. You have another appeal level, and keep in mind the commission. I think before it was dismantled, was in place for 8 years. During that 8 years, 83 petitions came before the commission, and only 16 were approved. So it's not just a given with the commission we're going to have more schools. Let's see. Some notes. You guys have any questions for me? Oh, there is one more point I want to make. About a week ago, I think with children, my time throws out, but it was very recently, a group of Black elected officials came out, had a press conference against the charter amendment. This way, I think. Okay, as I said with kids, you know my time, right? But yeah, they came out against the amendment. And I'm going to tell you, if there's a group of people that should be for charter schools, it should be Black folks. Now, I'll defend this if I'm on TV, but it really should be. Because when we look at the condition of public education in America generally, but in Bibb County in particular, I mean, it's our face that you see. And so I was really disturbed by that, and particularly when you look at on the Democratic ballot this past July, there was a straw poll done concerning this amendment. It wasn't on the Republican ticket, but it was on the Democratic ticket. And when they tallied those results, they found that 51% of minority voters in this area supported that amendment. 51%. So those elected officials are really out of touch with what their constituents are saying. And I know because I'm in the trenches. I'm very grassroots. At my children's school, I'm on the PTO. I'm VP, Vice President of the PTO. And when I'm reaching out to get parents, I'm in the office. I try and get them when they come in there and they have an issue with something the kid did or what have you. And they're fussing and saying how bad the schools are, and I'm talking to them about why they need to be involved and being involved in PTO. That's how grassroots I am. And when you talk to them about the needs of their children and what they want for their children, what I've seen across the board, regardless of how poor, how rich, regardless of condition, parents want children, as we all do. And so if this amendment can provide that opportunity, I simply don't see why this group would speak out against it. But they did, and I know, as I said, going through the charter school process, I know that politics, business, everything else but the child is important. I got so frustrated when I was working with the charter school, I said, if I hear one more person say, we're doing this on behalf of the child, I'll scream, because it's everything but, So, I mean, that's my spill. I'll gladly take any questions. Yes, Lester?
Got a couple, just bear with me. Number one, what's the eligibility? A lot of people ask me when I start talking about charter schools, well, how do you decide who's going to get into your school?
Okay, because they're public schools, you can't. It's you put in an application, you can set your deadlines and so forth for when applications will be received, but they're open to everyone. For example, in Bibb County, they would be open to everyone in Bibb County. But what you can do when it comes to, because charter schools, the purpose of them is to kind of give you the freedom to design and form a school that you think would meet the needs of a group of children. So it can be a science and math academy, or it can be, as we did, a longer school day, a foreign language component. It can be a military school, whatever you make it, but whatever you make it, it has to be open to the entire
But
community.
who gets to decide, like, you're gonna take 300 students or 500 students at this school, who decides the 500 students that are gonna get into that school?
The board does.
Board,
Wait, let me make
So
sure I
just
understand
do
your
the
question.
applications for the number of people that you have for your school.
Let me say that again.
Like if you have 500 openings and you get 1,000 applicants, how do you? is that
Oh,
kind of
like,
what you do?
that's what you.
Right.
Yeah, a lottery. You know, you just pull the, there's even a movie about charter schools by that name, The Lottery. But you would have a lottery, a public lottery.
and as far as the funding, local school board approves your petition and you're opening it up, you get the state allotment that the local board would typically get for that amount of students?
That's correct. You get the same amount that the regular public school children would get.
And I agree with what you said, most of your African American leaders that I talk to are totally against. I don't know where the straw poll came from, I'd like to see it, but, or the ballots, but totally against it. I don't know if it's because they're giving up something or they're just uneducated about the process perhaps, but they're totally against charter schools. They, you know, they want to know who's going to get into the school, but you know, to me, it's just like you were saying, across the board, racially, economically, typically everybody wants two things for their children. They want a safe environment and a quality education. And the taxpayers want that for the best price they can get it. So I don't know what the issue is, except for locally, we have a lot of people in that business that they get paid based on our students' failures. And they've got several corporations that are set up and businesses that are set up to actually benefit from our children failing. And I think that's part of the problem. But those are some of the questions I was asking. A lot of people asked me to put forth some questions tonight for some people that I've been talking to on my campaign. And I want to be able to give them some good answers about that.
Okay.
So.
Well, with regards to your comment where you said a number of black officials, why they would be against it, my experience has been twofold. One, that they sometimes don't understand the process. And two, they assume that if it's not coming, if it's not government ordered and chartered, then it just can't be good. And
Or they're distrustful. I think it's a trust issue as far as that's concerned. They're just distrustful of who's bringing it forth. And they feel like anything that you're doing to benefit is going to be a small group and they're going to be excluded, I believe. I don't know.
okay, and that could be.
And that's just what they're telling me. You know.
Yes, that
That's why I was
could
asking
be.
about your eligibility. How do you
Yeah.
get people in there? Because if you're just going to select the top 300 white people that come over there, then that's going to be an issue.
Let's see.
But if you're going to make it the bottom 250 economically challenged, then that's going to be an issue. So if it's a lottery, I don't see a problem with it.
That's correct. I mean, and when, as I said, when we worked our school and did it, that was the question that we got. How would it be selected? And, you know, you stayed up front. It is open to everyone, and it's, you know, and everyone means across the board, whether they're mentally challenged, because, you know, you also have that, that group too, your special needs population. You cannot discriminate in any form or fashion in terms of who applies.
And the last thing I'll sit down is, as far as accreditation, it's the same accreditation that the Bibb County Public Schools would have and meet the same graduation requirements. As far
Yes, the standards are the same. Now, depending, the accreditation would come separately, because when we had our charter school, we partnered with a group that had the SACS accreditation, and so that would flow to our school, but that accreditation part is separate, but the graduation requirements, all the state requirements for the school, the curriculum wouldn't apply. You have to select your own curriculum. Your own curriculum if you want a management company, that kind of thing. But it would apply to the to your school, to the charter school.
My understanding is there was a charter school here in Georgia that folded because it didn't meet the expectations and the students didn't do well. So the charter school just came to an end, right? It's like at a certain limit, the charter school will go away, will dissolve if the students aren't performing as expected, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are definitely checks and balances in place, and not just the actual state requirements and guidelines. You know, the community parents, stakeholders is the term that's often used. But yes, if it's not successful, it will not last.
And what's the role of teachers' unions in a charter school versus a public school here?
Okay, now with unions, and I don't know, but with charter schools, usually the teachers aren't unionized. You just kind of hire at will.
And fire at will.
And fire at will, yes. Yes, ma'am.
I am still so confused about this charter school issue.
Okay.
The amendment, I'm trying to figure out whether I should vote for or against, and I'm still not clear about that. If it is adding another layer of bureaucracy, I'm voting against it. I mean, if there's a way right now that if I want to start a charter school or a group of people, and we get it approved by the board here in the state, what is this amendment to the Constitution? How is that going to help in getting more charter schools started? And are you familiar with Lake Oconee Academy?
I have heard of Lake Oconee Academy. I've heard of it. I'm not, I don't know the inner
It is
workings.
a charter school in Greene County.
But I know it was very controversial.
It's very controversial, and they're fighting them tooth and nail. It is one of the most successful elementary schools in the nation. In the nation. And the people in Greene County, they've gone back. They, of course, whenever you start asking for more money, that's when everybody's and so they're going to have to cut back on the money they're asking for to expand, and they're going to have to expand their attendance zone. See, they had a tiered attendance zone that was very controversial. But when you open a charter school, you mentioned a board. Okay. They're paid employees. See, this charter school does not have a principal. They have a CEO. His name is Mr. Tucker, but he is the CEO of the school. So do some charter schools, are they run by private companies or no?
No, yes.
They are?
You have some, but it's up to the board, which your governing board is not a paid board.
Okay.
They're not a compensated board.
Okay.
But it's up to the board to decide how they would
Wanna run
like
the
to
school.
have it run. If they want a private
Okay.
management company, if they want to self-manage, it's up to the board. And if they want to hire a CEO, it's up to them.
But one of the things I talk to parents up there all the time, and I haven't heard anyone yet, they are so thrilled with the school. And when you mentioned parent involvement, when this father said, well, number one, they don't provide transportation. We have to get our children there. And he said, and secondly, they require parent participation. They require it. It's a requirement. You want your kid to go to this school, here's the sign-up list. So I know I said a lot, but I'm still confused as to whether to vote yay or nay. Some of the people are out there saying vote no. I would vote yes because of that. But I don't want to do that if I don't understand exactly why.
And given everything you said, a couple of things, and I do see you, and I know there was a question over here, but in terms of a layer of bureaucracy, and I hear you about that. Why add that if we're going to add another layer? But when we were going through the process, something that I think kept and we went to the local board twice, that kept our folks honest was that, and it's a record, they would say, now if we don't approve this, what could they do? And Mr. Plowden, who was the district general counsel at the time, he would say they could take it to the state. I mean, he continuously referenced that to say, hey guys, now you can either approve this, because also by your local board approving, then they can have oversight, not control, but oversight for your school.
Yeah.
If it goes to the state, then they lose all of that. So he said, he kept reminding them of that. And so to have that, it just adds an effective layer to keep the process honest. Because we're talking statewide here. There's some districts that simply do not want charter schools. They don't care what they can do. You know, they just don't want it. And I don't think that's fair to parents who want the opportunity to have a say in the type and quality of education that their children have. And so if we already have these layers and we're getting the results that we're getting, I mean, my question would be, why not given what it's in place to do? And then with Lake Oconee, there are a lot of issues there. You know, you got race, you got wealth, there was a lot going on
But
with,
it is a successful school.
Lake
It is
Oconee.
magnificent.
Right, and it
Lake
speaks to
Oconee
why
Academy.
that those opportunities can and should exist across the
Right.
board and throughout the state.
Right.
Okay, and I can
And
gladly
one
talk to
question.
y'all.
I have
not
another
wrong.
speaker, and then we can ask all the questions we want. I want to get our next speaker in, is that okay?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask the difference between a magnet school and a charter school, because I don't know the difference.
Okay.
Well, I know in Bibb County we have magnet schools,
Right, okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Like I think,
Miller.
Lisby, Vimal
Right.
Academy, Tatnall, Alexander too, from which I graduated, are those magnet schools?
They are, yes, sir. They are magnet, and that's what they are with charter. That designation is to indicate that it's separate board, it's separately run, you know, it's different. So magnets could be a kind of charter school, but they don't use charter because you don't want to confuse them about the local board control and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Thank you. I know many of you are in
Well,
the,
undecided.
many of you are in the educational fight, whether you're elected or you're a parent or you're someone that's concerned. And Americans for Prosperity has a great video. If you go to their website, it's called Making the Grade, and it shows you some successful charter schools in Georgia, including one that's at Techwood Homes, right outside of Georgia Tech, which is one of the largest and
Go
probably
Yellow Jackets.
probably the
What's that
most
hamburger?
impoverished, it's one of the most impoverished public housing organizations in the state, and they are doing great there. I mean, they're just doing fantastic. So anyway, our next speaker is also in the charter school fight, and I'm very proud to introduce Tony Lowdens. He's the former executive director of Campus Clubs, which is a Christian outreach for students from 1st to 12th grade. He is the current executive director of Stone Academy, which is an after-school enrichment program for kids at risk children in the Macon and Bibb County area. And he serves right now as the youth pastor of Lindy Chapel Missionary Baptist Church. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Lowdens.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
I know some of you are tired, so I won't take much of your time. Go ahead. You know, especially you candidates that are running for office. And I just wanted to take a commercial break and say that you candidates that are running for office, you know, if you truly believe in what you believe in and you think believe it's the right fight, don't look at your tiredness now, but work hard to get to the end of the line. Because if you win, then it pays off. Because if you participate in politics, then you are politics. But if you don't participate in politics, then politics happens to you. And you don't have the freedom that you have, all right? So I want to encourage you to continue to push the good fight. Like Greg, a good friend back there, and all those other folks that are running, good luck, okay? If there's anything that I can do, I'll be glad to help you out. That's my quick commercial right there. Well, I came to this city about eight years ago, and I didn't pick Macon, Georgia to come here. God threw me a curveball. God threw me a curveball. And I fell in love with Macon. And I came out here to do government affairs work for a pharmaceutical company called Baxter Pharmaceutical. And that's all I've done. I majored in government. I wrote policy in California. I ran the Democratic caucus in California under Willie Brown until he found out by Governor Pete Wilson that I was a registered Republican. Pete Wilson asked me, he said, how could you be a registered Republican? I said, you never asked. You just hired me for my talents of writing legislation. And so for 6 years I wrote legislation for the Democrats, and they all went through everything I wrote. And then I ended up working for Pete Wilson and Jim Brulty, and I ran the Republican caucus for the whole state of California. You don't find many Republicans in California, but I was one of them. I went on to run Eli Lilly's government affairs for the whole country, and then Baxter Pharmaceutical recruited me to come run the Southeast region. And when I got out here, the company was having a black box warning, which meant one of the products was killing everybody. And then their stock started dropping, and I dropped off Baxter. And the CEO of Baxter said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to go work for the Lord now." And I've been working in the ministry ever since then for 8 years here in Macon. A young man by the name of Todd Hunt took me to go see this organization called Campus Clubs, and I got down there, it broke my heart. Because I saw little boys and little girls who couldn't read and couldn't write. Every Tuesday, they would go into these communities and pick them up, bring them down to the Presbyterian church, try to help them with their homework. They would feed them, open the Bible up to them. They couldn't read the Bible, so they had to read the Bible to them. They would take them back to their communities and do the same thing again on Thursday. They had a police armed guard down at the church for them. I said, there's something wrong with that. How could we be living in the 2000th century? We got kids that can't read and write. So I started peeling back the onion and looking and finding more about what's going on in Bibb County. Surprisingly, I understood why God brought me to Macon, because that's how I grew up in North Philadelphia, one of the worst ghettos in America, where you had a failing school system, and kids end up being trapped. The parents went to that same failing school system. They can't recognize that it's a failing school system because they went through that same school system. Their parents went through that same school system too, and nothing has changed. If you leave here tonight and tomorrow you go and take a driver's license test and you fail, you can go back later on and take that test again. But if a child goes through a K-12 system in Bibb County, and that system fails that child, they don't get a do-over. They get what we gave them. We cannot allow a school system, a bunch of politicians who's been bought out because they make money off of bad numbers in our city. They make money off of poverty, make money off of crime. They set up their own corporations. And they tell these kids, you have to remain hostage in that school. If a school is filled with guns, should that one kid stay there who's trying to get an education? If a school is dropout rate is higher than the national average, should that kid stay in that school? And I tell you the answer is no. This is not a black issue. This is not a white issue. This is not a rich issue. This is not a poverty issue. This is about our national treasure, which is our human capital. We can't do trade with China if our kids can't produce anything to trade to China. We can't widen the 16 freeway out here and the I-75 out there to bring more trucks up and down the road if our kids can't put anything in the trucks. They come from Savannah in one way. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. That's the game all across the global economy. And if our children in middle Georgia don't have the opportunity to gain the tools, then we're failing them. What do that say for the future of us? We have none, because they make the decision on what our care end up being in our latter years. I talk to Greg all the time about the juveniles that come back and forth to his office and say, Tony, we got to find another way. They're younger and younger. Go down to Bloomfield and say, let me see the Alternative Education Center. Some of our school board members here, beautiful school, but you got a jail within a school. You got alternative education, a police guard down there, and kids who are going to alternative schools separate from the normal kids. Why not a charter school for those kids who are hard to teach, where we can teach them hands-on and maybe, just maybe, something to click where that child says, you know what, I gotta do better. Maybe a military school for those kids who constantly fighting all the time in the city. Someone can give them discipline and teach them how to walk and march and talk. Pull up their pants. Maybe a school with a dress code that says you're not going to dress like you walk in the streets. That you're not going to come in and your underwear going to be showing. Maybe a school that'll teach character and morals. We cannot afford to be held hostage by this. Not that amendment, yes, more bureaucracy. I've written policy. I've done it. I know what that looks like. But when it comes to saving our children's lives, I'm voting yes. And I stand in front of any black politician in the city and tell them they're wrong. They're gatekeepers. They're keeping our children in a system that is failing them. How can you speak Mandarin if you can't read? I know it firsthand. Every day, my center pick up 275 kids in the city at the Booker T. Washington Center. I get no money from the school board system. I get no money from anybody because Tony's too radical. I say what I mean. And for 8 years, I've been working with kids. I look at the kids and they come to me. One boy in the same classroom, he can read and another kid can't read. Parents drop their kids off because they can't help their kids because they went to the same school system. So we're raising a generation of kids and parents who become dependent on government.
Yep.
Why are they becoming dependent on government? Because if I can't read, I can't work. If I don't understand technology, what's moving our country and the world, then I can't work even at McDonald's. It's a sad day when our young people can't pass the test to get into the military. But we'll test them all day for the CRCT. And when they get ready to pass the SAT, they can't do it to get into college. I read a story the other day that said that Georgia has made some gains in the state on SAT. Okay? It's higher than what it used to be, but it's still below the national average. Are you kidding me? You bragging about that? If it's still below the national average, then we still got a problem. That means the system is still failing us. Don't celebrate small gains. Yes, you got a battle, but we roll up the victory flag when we won the war, when we made a significant different impact. Charter schools. Don't trust me. I'm going to throw this out there and you do your own homework. Look up at Jeffrey, Canada, in Harlem, one of the worst ghettos in America. Okay? He started with a charter school. There's a movie out called Waiting for Superman that talks about it. Jeffrey Canada went in there the first year he opened up a charter school. He did not get all the numbers that he wanted. He told the teachers, if you don't get it right, I'm firing everybody. He went in there. The second year, he got everything that he wanted. Right now, he has 4 charter schools in a 20-block radius in Harlem, serving 20,000 kids. And every single child in his academies qualifies to go to a D1 school when they graduate. Look up Urban Academy in Chicago, all-black male charter school. Every boy wears a blazer coming to school with a tie. I love that. Underwear not showing. Every year for the last 4 years, 100% of them qualify to go into a D1 college and get accepted. There's something wrong when we pit race on every single legislation that passes. It's going to hurt this group. It's going to hurt that group. It's not about race with this. It's about a good quality education. And I'll close with this because I want to hear some of your feedback. But when we had the great digital divide, everyone talked about the great digital divide in our communities. Everyone talked about having an on-ramp to the information highway. If you don't have fast internet, you don't have an on-ramp to the information highway. Well, our children don't have an on-ramp for the educational system. And you tell me, if we vote no on this, I'm going to tell you they won't have an off-ramp to get out of a failing school system. They need, a parent need to have a choice. If you go to a grocery store at Publix and they got bad meat, you're going to go over here to Kroger to get some good meat. It's about choice. If the gas station is giving you gas that make your car stutter, you're going to go to another gas station. It's about choice. They said vouchers was racial, and we never did get vouchers off the ground. And kids were still stuck. And Greg ended up with more kids coming to see him. Because what happens when a kid gets kicked out of school? They're on the streets. Now my tax dollars paying for more prisons.
That's right.
And I have no input on that. But this gives me an opportunity to have some input. We cannot afford to vote no on this. Some people are going to come and tell you, you know, it's more government, more bureaucracy, but I'm going to tell you, 16 out of 83 schools have been approved by charter schools. That's a crime. You know why? Because local districts make sure that the application gets placed on hold. Here's one for you. They did me this way this year. They're supposed to reply within 60 days of your application. Bibb County did not even reply or respond. I had to call them. Then they waited so long that it was too late for me to apply through the state. It's tricks behind it.
Yeah.
So to keep you held hostage. I say freedom in America is education. Education makes the playing field equal, and you can't yell race then.
That's right.
If you got the same education I got, then you can get in the same line I got. And we don't have to be sitting down at DFAC or some other system begging for a handout. We can be lifting up America and lifting up our community. So that's why this is crucial. We will not have a first-rate country if we don't get education under control.
I've been reading the same comments in some of our letters to the local paper, where approval of Amendment 1 will mean we have another bureaucracy which is going to spend tax dollars. In Bibb County, I think we spend approximately $8,000 per scholar. To keep someone incarcerated in Georgia, we're spending $25,000. So maybe another level would be cheaper in the long run than what we're currently doing. And that's my point.
Absolutely. Dion Howard, a young black kid in this community. When I first took over Campus Club, he was in Campus Club with me. This young man came home one day and he saw a 9mm on a coffee table. He picked it up and he looked at it, and he didn't see a clip in it. His little brother, who also was in my program, ran in the room. Jokingly, he turned at him and yelled "pow" and pulled the trigger. And one was in the chamber, blew the top of his head off. His older brother, who was one of the leaders of the gangs in this community, had brought the gun in the home. Dion Howard's mom just recently died of cancer, of her third battle with it. Dion Howard, no one in his family had ever graduated from Bibb County school system. He had 3 brothers before him. His father didn't graduate. His sister didn't graduate. His mother didn't graduate. None of them had ever graduated from Bibb County school system. This year, Dion Howard graduated from Bibb County school system. We took Dion under our wings with the help of good people like Greg and other folks that didn't put him in jail because it was an accident. Bibb County school system kicked him out and gave him to me. I had him for 6 months. He sat in my office and did his schoolwork for 6 months until I got him back in school. I tried to get him in good private Christian schools while he was kicked out. And do you know, good Christians told me, we don't want him.
Those are good Christians.
Yeah, he's a murderer. We don't want him. I tried to take them and talk to them about Paul, but that wouldn't work either. Something else. But Dion Howard graduated this year, and I say he won't repeat the sins of his father and his brothers, and he won't be incarcerated, and Greg won't have to prosecute him because he got an education. And he mentored other young men in the city and pushed other young men. And when his mother died during his junior year, he lived on the streets. I took him in when he became a senior. And some other folks, he moved from house to house. But he has his education, and he's working, and he's on his way to college. You can't tell me that education is not the way to go. But we gotta make sure no kid is held hostage in a failing school system. Yes, there wasn't a school that was closed, and that's a good thing. Try closing one of Bibb County schools right now and see what happens. Try firing a teacher right now. You have a problem. There's some great teachers out there. Some of them work for me right now in the after school program. But we can't afford to keep the bad ones.
No, we can't.
So I won't preach no more.
I'm going to say real quick, he said a little bit of what he did. Tony has helped thousands of kids in our community. You don't know, you may not know, but literally thousands of kids he has made a difference to. So he doesn't talk enough about what he does. He does not get enough credit for what he does. But working with kids, and you see failing kids who he works with for a year who are making A's the next year. What he does, giving these kids a place to go after school so they are not on our streets, idle hands are the devil's work. They have a place to go, and a lot of times he may be one of the only men in their life to tell them that they matter. So he doesn't talk enough about what he does. He went real quick past that, but you need to thank Tony for what he does, because he is, I believe he has kept hundreds of kids out of my office. I truly believe. I can't prove it. Just those things, some things you know but you can't prove. That's one thing I do know. So thank you.
I love the city. You know, just a little quick story this summer. You know, losing Campus Club caused me to lose my building. You know, and I ended up taking over the Booker T. Washington Center, but you know, when I had the building downtown, I had 800 kids every summer. This year I had 500, so I was stuck. Booker T only holds 270 something. So what am I going to do with 500? I called a good friend of mine, the pastor at Lawrence Drive Baptist Church. I said, hey, Brad, listen, I need some help. What do you need, Tony? I said, I need your building. I need your gym. And it's going to piss off a lot of people in your church. He said, well, how long do you need it for? I said, I need it for 8 weeks. And I'm going to bring 800 black kids down there. What? That's a good thing, Tony. Come on, let's do it. This summer, before they start talking about Mandarin and Chinese, our kids spoke Japanese, they spoke Chinese, they did Spanish, and they did French. They knew about Georgia flower, the Georgia bird. Who gave Georgia its name? We don't just have a summer camp where kids roll out the ball. One summer we took 800 kids to the Kennedy Space Center. Taking 800 kids from Lincoln. We took 800 kids to the body exhibit. We took 800 kids to the zoo, and everywhere we went, they hired extra security because they heard about making kids. And when we got there, and after we were leaving, the kids getting back on the bus, they would come up to me and say, you know what, we want to apologize. I said, for what? Your kids are one of the most well-behaved kids we've ever seen in our lives. And they didn't tear up anything. We took 800 kids and stopped at a Golden Corral on our way to Kennedy Space Center. They were so excited, they invited us back on our way back because our kids cleaned their own trays. They wiped their own tables. They went in the back and made sure that they thanked the cooks and everybody because we teach that. We had peer-to-peer, one-on-one. We teach that, and you can't tell me it can't be done. Don't buy this mess that we have here, these so-called leaders of our city. It can be done. But we got to just make sure that we push, and don't be afraid to vote yes for something that would change. We've been saying no, and nothing has changed. That's going to be a good election this year, too, to make some change.
Have you got credentials to be a superintendent?
No, I don't have we can write some legislation and change it. Yes, sir.
Yes, you do.
I love what I do. I love what I do. You know, this summer I had some kids. One little girl, I walked in and she kept saying, "Hi, Pastor Tony." I said, "Hi." I said, "Hi, Pastor Tony." I said, "Hi." 5 minutes later, she said, "Hi, Daddy." I looked at her and I was having a bad day. My feet was hurting, I was tired, I was having a real bad day. I just gave her a hug. "How you doing, baby?" "Okay." I come back, "Hi, Daddy." And she just smiled. And then all of a sudden, her whole class, we break kids up into tribes. Tribe of Benjamin, Dan, you feel me, right? All these, we had 15 tribes. We invented some this year. But before lunch, she had almost every tribe in there saying, "Hi, Daddy." It was bothering me. It was making me angry because I was having a bad day. All these kids calling me Daddy all of a sudden. I went and sat down in my office, and God just said to me, some of these kids have never had the opportunity to say Daddy. Just fall and pray to the streets, and jails, and drugs, and gangs. They never say those words, "Hi, Daddy." There may be some folks in this room never had the opportunity to say, "Hi, Daddy, I love you." But we can't allow our country to continue to go that way. We can't allow Bibb County to continue to go that way. We got to do more. And on this ballot, you can give blacks their civil rights again by voting yes on that ballot. And you can free our school system and take back our city. You can vote on that ticket again, on that yellow slate again, and give us some more freedom. I didn't think we would talk about that.
Okay.
That's another day. Any other questions?
Hey,
Yes,
Tom,
sir.
where do you get your funding from?
I go out and raise my own money.
Private?
You know, unfortunately, when I left the Presbyterian Church, and I loved it, I thank them for everything that they've done. They did a great job for me for 6 years. A lot of my funding dried up. Because no one ever told the story. Why Tony Lowdens is no longer with Campus Clubs? We had a different philosophy. I believe that if we save more kids from the streets, we create a bigger army, more synergy than we have out on the streets. They believe they want to stay small and just help the kids in Pleasant Hill. We had 2 different visions. I left Campus Club. They stayed where they are. Now they're serving 25 kids. And we're now serving 275. In the summer, we serve up to 800. So I have to go out and raise the money. I've had 4 pay cuts with my staff. Some of them don't like me. Some of them have quit. But we go out and raise the money. Sometimes we get money from the Department of Family and Children Services for aftercare or in the way of grants. But we go out and we raise our own money. You know, I brought J.C. Watts here one time, who was a good friend of mine. So I plan on bringing him back to raise some money again. You know, I brought T.D. Jakes here to raise some money. So I'm going to do some other things to raise some money here in the city. Macon is the heart of Georgia. If you draw a straight line from San Francisco to across the country, you'll run into Georgia. Republicans allowed San Francisco to take over the state capital. And California is now in bankruptcy. California budget, education used to be the biggest part of its budget. Department of Corrections now is the biggest part of California's budget. How did a whole state, which was #1 in the country in economy, end up with a budget that take care mainly the prisons and education is 3rd now on its budget, and most of California cities are going bankrupt? Yes, sir.
Tony, let me just, this amendment, basically, right now, the way we have it, if you apply for a charter school, the county's as far as you can go. If they turn it down, then you're kind of, like you said, dead. But with the amendment, we'll have another level we can go to that will give us an appeal past the.
Well, we have another level now that we can go to the state now, okay? However, through the process of getting to the state, the district can spin you all the way around up to the last point. By the time you get to the state,
Yes. So this amendment will do.
this amendment will set in place a commission
Okay.
that the courts have already 4-3 vote shut it down, okay?
Okay.
But now the people can say, you know what, we want public charters in our system.
And so if you run into a problem, like y'all were talking about the delay, you go straight to the
Straight to the
commission.
state.
If they can't spin you, you can just go straight to the commission.
Absolutely.
So basically, I mean, I'm just trying to understand this. So basically what you're saying is, as a group of parents with the children and so forth, we say, we want a charter school. If they don't contact us within 60 days or give us a runaround, then we say, look, okay.
That's all right.
If we vote for this amendment, we can have that
That's right.
opportunity. That's what, is that,
It's
I mean, am I
set.
saying that right? Okay.
I want to be clear, when the local board says no, then that will give you have the right to appeal to the commission.
Right.
And by going to the commission, the funding, as he said, is preserved.
But even if they do a delay, like you're talking about this, then you still have the opportunity with this
Yes.
amendment to go to the
Yes.
commission.
Yes.
Yes.
In other words, you're not
It's
shut
no or
down.
60,
That's
whichever
correct.
comes first.
Right.
Yeah.
No or 60, whichever comes first.
Okay, so, but that's what, but once they delayed before, then you were shut down. There was nothing you could do
That's
before.
correct.
But with the
That's
amendment,
correct.
you have another opportunity to
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
they can't stop us from, if we get the commission to agree.
You
they
give
can
me an
stop us.
on-ramp to freedom.
Right, that's right. Okay.
And understand, you can still go to the state now, but your funding is pretty much cut in half.
Cut in half.
Okay, but with the commission, it wouldn't.
It would not.
Okay.
The dollars follows the kids.
Right.
Okay.
Which it should do.
Can't you go straight to the commission at the state level and bypass the board at the local?
As the
No.
Supreme Court that ruled,
No,
local
after
control
the law.
has exclusive control.
But after the law, if this law is passed, will that enable you to go straight to the state?
You still have to go through the local process. If the state spins you, you get an opportunity to go to the state.
Right, with the amendment. If we pass the amendment, we got it.
I want to encourage you, I know you have a large sphere of influence throughout the party. I want to encourage you to encourage those who you know. Not just that we vote down the ticket that has an R on it, but this is one fight that we should all be in the game for. Influence those that you know that, I've vetted this, I've done everything I can. And I believe our best interest for us, for our future, for our city, to vote yes on this amendment.
Tony, you sure we can't recruit you to be? Can you imagine if we had somebody like Tony as our school superintendent? Imagine.
We wouldn't need charter schools.
Unbelievable. I mean, wow. I'm just blown away about all the things you guys are doing, and I know many of you are in the fight too. We all need to work together and make the difference we can make. Really quick, thank you for hanging on. I'm a Methodist and I believe, 1 hour and that's it. Thank you for holding on. Again, our next meeting is October the 18th. We moved it up a week. Sign up if you want a free Romney sign for the rally in Byron on the 6th. We also need people to neighborhood walk for us. So with that, I will say thank you very much for coming and you're adjourned. Pick up some yellow things on the way out or I'll get